What up? What up? It's Golden Spaces and the Odyssey Original Podcast. Sorry, it's back to me again, guys. I know you got a taste of the ladies' night. Nat and Kariemah held it down. But we're gonna have to wait a little while before we see Nat again. It's me and Kariemah here tonight after a dub. Well, there was an L in between this dub and the last dub we talked about, but we got a dub, so we're gonna keep the vibes up tonight.
Exactly. I was like, we no need to,
Yeah.
go negative. We can stay positive in all of this.
Mm,
That
yeah, that's
game's in the
true.
past. What? What game?
Yeah, we'll touch on that game a little bit. But tonight the Warriors beat the Jazz 118 to 110. They were up by almost 20 for a lot of the game. I think at the end it got a little dicey there, but they held on. No Steph tonight. They gave him much needed rest. Obviously, Draymond also played 21 minutes and then got some rest. He did have like a wrap, like a kind of like a compression thing going on with his lower back, I think, on the bench. Could be precautionary. Who knows? It didn't look like he was in like some pain or something like that. It's probably just like making sure he doesn't injure anything. So they cut his
Right.
minutes short, and then they let the young guys kind of take us home. But like, what's your feeling after this game? Big takeaway. I know it did get dicey in there, but what are you feeling?
I'd say the big takeaway in this game would be that the younger squad actually stepped up and played really well all around.
Mhm.
My guy Moses was, acting up a little bit or whatever. However, he was still hustling on defense like he always does, got some steals, got a block in there as well, grabbing some boards. So still doing what he can on defense. The offense really wasn't all the way there, but he still made some shots, some key drives. But still, I just think Kaminga coming back after being out for 6 games, he looked like he didn't miss a beat and also looked like he took some notes while he was off because he was all over the boards, but his energy level was through the roof, which I figured it would be after you miss so many games, you're just ready to get back out there and show off. And he did. He did that. And that was great to see. But overall, I just think the young squad, you saw some really good stuff that kind of helps you feel, I think, a little bit better going into this postseason. So,
For sure. I mean, I've been saying all season they got a really good young group, right? They may not have a Wimby in their group or a Chet Holmgren or something like that, a future superstar. I mean, we can't tell the future, but like Kaminga 21, Moody 21, Pajemski 21, Trace I believe is 23 or 24.
mhm.
Um, and these guys can play, like they all can play. Now, there's obviously a learning curve that comes with playing in the NBA and gaining that experience. So it'll be important for them to get postseason experience for the further of their career. But we know right now that they can help this team right now, right? Trace is starting. He's been starting for the last, few weeks, it seems like.
Yeah.
16 points, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. It seemed like when he was out there, he was grabbing every rebound. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing everything you asked him to do. He had 4 blocks. He's finishing everything around the rim. He's making the right reads out of the rolls. He knows how to set good screens and get guys open. So can't really ask for much more from him. We've been preaching that all season. So we're glad that he can finally settle into his role as the big for this team to help Draymond and just help this team in general. And Pod's kind of finally found some offense, like a lot of
Yes.
offense for him. 16 points, 2 threes, was getting into the lane, kind of sneaky euros and all of this stuff, crossovers. Um, what did you think about his game, just overall?
I thought it was much better. There are still some points in there where it's sticking too much to him and a few too many shot clock violations for me. And also sticking and not making the pass. Like, come on, get it moving. Cause he missed Moses a few times where it was just like, pause, you don't have anything going, get rid of it. Get
Yep.
rid of it. And he's staying just kind of dribble, 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 looking around. But not actually looking. Um, so, but still a positive game from him because he is more confident taking his shot and he's making them now. So I think that that bodes really well for us moving forward and for him and his confidence. So I still thought he had a really good game today.
For sure, for sure. I definitely agree on the probing issue that he has. Like he'll get into the middle of the paint and just kind of like dribble, try to pivot, and he doesn't have anything. And it's like,
Yeah.
you probably got yourself in trouble here. But he has that issue. And Moses, we mentioned his like he didn't have the best offensive game, but I think one thing with Moses is picking when and when not to attack. A lot of times he'll
Mhm.
have an advantage, and then he'll just pick his dribble up, and he's thinking like, I got to keep the play rolling,
Right.
right? But it's like you can keep the play rolling, but you also got to continue to be a threat. Don't pick your dribble up because now you're trying to force a pass to a guy instead of being a threat. So now the other team just knows they should just deny the ball. So he
Right.
got to stop doing that a little bit. And I mean, Kuminga, we already talked about him, like 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Didn't miss a beat, it seemed like. I think everybody was a little nervous about the injury or the issue that he was having, the
Mhm.
tendonitis, because he missed the last few games or missed 6 games in a row.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with tendonitis is like when you have it, it's very hard to play through it almost. Like it's pretty painful depending on like the severity of it. And the only way that you can really get rid of it is if you rest and like let the tendon heal itself over time and then strengthen it up before you return back to sport. So once they kept saying it was tendonitis, I wasn't too worried about it. It's just a matter of
Mhm.
when his body is ready to return to sport. Now, if he goes back down with it again, then it's like, okay, they didn't do, what they needed to do to prepare him to come back. So
Mhm.
that would be a little worrisome. But athletes get these things sometimes, especially a guy like him. He's a leaper, like, so you're putting a lot of stress on that patellar tendon. So it's one of those. It's just one of those things. Hopefully, it's just this is the end of it, and he can just kind of be done with it from here and continue to play. Because I mean, whether he's starting, whether he's coming off the bench, he's going out there and he's making an impact offensively, and that's what they're going to need from him in the postseason um, to help this team win. Speaking of the postseason, if you guys can read the the title, with the Rockets' loss to the Mavericks today, the Warriors officially clinch a postseason berth via the play-in. Right now, they're going to be no lower than the 10th seed, and that means they have at least one game after the season ends. They can make some noise, and whether they end up higher than 10, we have to wait and see. It's still like a battle between like 4 or 5 teams in
Right.
terms of order, with about 4 games left each team.
Yeah.
So it's going to go down to the very last game, probably, just like it did last year, or was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
felt like it was last year too.
yeah, last year. I think they needed the Clippers to lose or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
so same deal. The Warriors just got to keep winning. If the Warriors win out, then they've done their job, and it's just up to the other teams to lose a little bit more. So
Right.
we
So
just
we
got
could potentially be at 7 at the end of this season. Potentially.
potentially there's a path. There's a
Okay.
path. I guess I can break it down a little bit. So the Warriors, if they win out, they can have a maximum record of 47 wins. So just based on that, we'll operate under the assumption that they're going to win out, right? They play the Lakers, the Trailblazers, the Pelicans, and Utah. Now, obviously, they can lose to those teams, but just for the sake of this exercise, we're going to say they're going to win out and win 47 games. The Lakers' remaining schedule is they play in Minnesota right now. I'm not really sure the score. They are losing by 15. LeBron did not play, so they're probably going to lose that game. But either way, they can finish with a maximum of 49 wins if they win
Mm.
out, if the Lakers win out. Now, the Lakers do play the Golden State Warriors. So, in the instance that the Warriors win out, they obviously would beat the Lakers. So, that means the Lakers can only win 48 games. If they lose tonight to Minnesota and lose to Golden State, then Golden State will probably pass them because at best, they'll end up tying at 47 wins, and the Warriors would own the tiebreaker. So, they would leap the Lakers. Now you go to the team that's above the Lakers, which I believe is who's immediately above the Lakers, the Kings.
No, I think the Kings are below, and I think the Suns.
No, the
Oh,
Kings are eighth.
Pelicans. Oh, okay.
Yep, the Kings are eighth.
Okay.
Um,
The Pelicans.
the Pelicans are above them. So the Kings are eighth. They have 45 wins right now. They have 4 games left, which means they can win a maximum of 49 games. Now, the Kings also own the tiebreaker over the Warriors. So if they win 47 games, they're above the Warriors. So they would have to lose 3 of their last 4, which is the Thunder at the Thunder, the Pelicans, the Suns, and the Trailblazers. Now, the Thunder, the Pelicans, the Suns are also fighting for seeding. So they could beat the Kings all those games. And the Kings could very well end up below the Warriors. The Pelicans, who are 7th, have 46 wins. They just beat the Suns today, and they have 4 games left. So they can still win 50 games. But obviously, to be under the Warriors, they would have to lose to the Warriors, which is one of their remaining 4 games. And I think they would have to lose at least one more of the 2 more of the remaining games as well. So they got to lose 3 of their last 4 for the Warriors to tie them and then overtake them via the tiebreaker. So there's a path to passing all of these teams. It just kind of it gets more and more unlikely as the higher you get up.
Right.
And then the Suns as well are 46 wins with 4 games left. Clippers, Kings, Timberwolves. So they can lose all of those games as well and be under the Warriors. So there is a path to the Warriors climbing up out of 10. How likely it is, we just have to see. I think the Warriors just should focus on winning out.
Exactly. I was just about to say, let's just focus on us. Like, we don't have to worry about what the other teams are doing or have to do. It's kind of just like, we got to take it game by game, and we want to win every game here on out.
Yeah. Just win every game, and then you're probably going to be higher than 10, but you never know for sure. And then make sure you're going into the playoffs healthy with guys peaking and playing as good as they can possibly play at this point, relative to the lengthy season and stuff like that. It was good to rest Steph tonight because he probably needed it. He was looking a little tired for the last few weeks, so getting him some rest. Potentially getting other guys rest when you play some of the weaker teams, like you're going to play Portland at some point to finish the season. So just gear up for the tough games, and then like kind of taper down like you did tonight for the easier games. Apparently, according to producer Greg, AD did leave the game with a face injury, so we'll have to monitor that because the Warriors' next game is against the Lakers. If there's no AD, LeBron was sick tonight with the flu.
Alleged.
But if there's no AD, that's just advantage Warriors for sure. So that's something to monitor as well. We obviously don't want AD to be injured, but that's just, we got to, be realistic about it. If he's not playing, that's an easier win for the Warriors.
Right. And I was going to say, Andrew was out with the ankle sprain as well this game. So hoping that with this extra day off or whatever, he'll be ready to be back for Tuesday, because either way, we're going to need him anyway, going up against the Lakers. So we'll see. I don't think it's that serious because they haven't even come out with what grade it was or anything like that. So it seems like it was just a tweak, and hey, we're taking the precautions, sitting him out for these games, and hopefully we see him back Tuesday.
Yeah, I think to me, it just seemed like we don't need to bring him back for the Jazz. So let's just not bring him back for the Jazz. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully, like you said, is very minor, and like he's good to go against the Lakers. But yeah, that's the path right there. Right, they're no lower than 10th, but there's a path to climbing up as high as 7th, or maybe even like there's a very, very, very thin chance that they can even climb up to 6. I think some of these teams play each other, so I don't even know if that's a realistic thing, because they'll, one of these teams will be getting a win to their record.
Right.
So I don't know if 6 is realistic, but 8 and 9 I think is realistic for them, depending on if they win every single game that they have left. That would be actually pretty amazing, because if you're in the 8, then you get 2 chances at it, and I think that's ideal, the most ideal for them right now. Well, 6 would be, to just be clear of it, but yeah, in terms of the play. Um, yeah. So just looking, I guess, at the team as a whole right now, like we're looking at certain trends with players. Like we got Trace coming into his own now. Klay Thompson is another guy who just seems like he's kind of finding his groove finally.
Yeah.
Over the course of the season, it's been up and down, up and down. He'll be cold for a stretch. He'll get a little bit hot, then he'll be cold again. But it seems like he's finally hitting another stride and putting together like good performances, efficient
Mhm.
shooting, volume shooting, hitting a lot of threes. What are you seeing from Klay recently that just kind of like puts into
Yeah.
perspective like what he's doing out there?
Yeah, I think it's the mindset that has changed. That really, once his mindset changed, his game started to get back into the way we know it should be. But we also take into account that he is older and coming off of injury. So yeah, he may not have, the killer Clay games that we're used to, but we still will have uh a Clay that is a bit more efficient and kind of just locked in at each point, even if he's not, just hitting all his shots, but he's going to come to work on the defensive end. So I think with the mindset change, you've seen how his game has progressed and has helped us along the way. So I think,
Mhm.
like you said, he's hitting his stride now. Like he's finding his rhythm. He's in a groove right now. He's feeling good. He's doing his whatever. But I just think he's even more positive, and his confidence, I think, is back. You know.
Yep, for sure, for sure. I think um, like if you look at his last 26 games, he's averaging 18 and a half points, 45 and a half from the field, 40 from three on 9 attempts, 94 from the free throw. And I got to find like exactly when Trace was inserted into the starting lineup, but it just seems like he just looks like he's more under control now when he
Hmm.
has a lob threat with him. His decisions are a lot easier to make because a lot of time during the season, he's coming off these pin downs and two guys come with him. And it's like, well, I'm going to hit the roller, but the roller is Dario. The roller is Loon, right? Like, it's like they get the ball and they're just not going to do anything with it, where Trace is just dunking it every time, or at least kicking it out, or just making a
Hmm.
dynamic play off that action. So just another thing that Trace has added to this team is he kind of unlocks play a little bit more on offense. They unlock each other. And
Yeah.
then with Draymond on defense, it's the same thing. Like he just helps put Draymond in a position that is best suited for his skill set defensively, which is the roamer, the guy who can disrupt things and put fires out all over the court while
Right.
he has somebody behind him, still protecting the rim and still rebounding the ball. So yeah, big stretch here from Klay Thompson. He's looking like the Klay Thompson they need him to be. They don't need him to be 25 a game, anything like that. Just give a solid 17 to 19 points a game, hit a few threes, stay efficient, don't turn the ball over, don't take ill-advised shots, just take the good shots that are for you. And if you're hot,
Right.
you can let a few heat checks fly because they're
Right.
probably going to go in. So um, he had a great performance tonight. I believe he had 32 points. I got to go back and pull up
Yeah.
the box
Yeah,
score.
it was 32, and his playmaking was on point. But
Hmm.
that's what you've seen when him and Trace are together, you see it, but I feel like it's ticked up even more. He's making better decisions in that capacity. So, that's really good because it's not just, "Oh, it's only to Trace." No, he's finding other people
Hmm.
and getting them their shots.
And that's something with Klay that like more so came after the second injury, after the Achilles. Like he wasn't really
Yep.
doing that as much. He was doing it a little bit before the Achilles injury and the ACL, but he came back more of a ball handler than before. I think he had a lot of time to actually work on his handle. Now he's not out there Kyrie Irving, but like he can still get to where he wants to get. Guys rarely can knock the ball away from him, and he understands his gravity, so he'll go through and just kick it out to guys and make some reads. So I think they should just kind of lean into that a little bit more, letting him be more of a decision maker with the ball in his hands because it keeps the defense honest and it gets other guys open and stuff like that. It doesn't all fall on the shoulders of Steph or Chris Paul or
Mhm.
Draymond at the top of the key where guys are just like playing off of him from 5 feet. So, yeah, good overall game from Klay Thompson. Chris Paul led the team in minutes tonight, 36 minutes for Mr. Lil Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Little
Kariemah
Chris,
don't
little
like
Chris.
that.
No, I mean, that's a lot of minutes, but also, again, I will say this about him. He is definitely shooting more now. That's a positive.
Mhm.
However, again, I don't need him, end of quarters, just dribbling, 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 and then just throwing up whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't need that from you,
Mhm.
especially when you have some other capables that are open that let's see, because you just throwing up stuff barely hitting the rim, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And that gets annoying because it's just like, dude, you spent all this time letting the ball roll up and this was your plan? This is the final shot you decided that you would go with? This? So that's where I'm just kind of like, dude. And he's been turning it over a lot more. And it's just like secure the ball. Like this game, again, we turned it over like ding dongs. But he's also in that. It's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Chris?
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I just need him to just get it together, but still, hey, those middies, those elbows, all good. And yes, a three here and there when you're open. Yes, we need you to take it to keep the defense honest. But all this other stuff, no, no. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 4 turnovers tonight, but yeah, I mean, since he came back from the injury that he had, the hand injury, he's been 47 from the field, 42 from 3 on about 3 attempts per game. So that's a good, decent volume for him. Like it's around Draymond
Yeah.
attempts, but he's hitting 40% of them. 6 assists, 10 points. That's about solid for him. Like just come off the bench, score a little bit, facilitate, hit your open shots, take care of the ball. Like that's just Chris Paul's job on this team. He's been doing it, pretty well. There's little things here and there that can kind of annoy us, like him taking every end of the quarter shot or stuff like that. But for the most part, he's been really, really solid. Um,
Yeah.
so Steve Kerr said, sorry about that. It's like my can you hear
Oh,
that?
yeah.
My
Look,
watch
I
right.
thought it was mine, and then I was like, "No, I finished washing clothes."
Yeah. So Kerr said he plans to keep starting TJD next to Draymond. Um,
Well, hello.
hello. I think it's the right decision,
It
honestly.
absolutely is.
Yeah, it gets them out to a nice defensive start every time. Gets some easy buckets for everybody. And Trace has been playing very, very well. So you want to reward that. Jonathan's obviously been playing well all season, but he can still do his thing coming off the bench. And it just makes
A
more sense positionally, I think.
And as we saw tonight, what happened? We had these starters start, and JK comes off the bench like a bat out of hell and just went to work.
Hmm.
So, again, it's really not about starting when it comes to him, really. I just feel like, hey, once you get out there, you check the landscape and you could just go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, realistically, Steph is the only lock as a starter.
yeah.
Draymond is as close as it gets to being a lock as a starter without being Steph. And then from there, every other person has gone in and out of the starting lineup. Right? We did it with Wiggins, Clay,
Yep.
Kaminga, Looney, all these
Pod.
guys. Yeah, pods. Just figuring out the right combinations. But I think this one makes the most sense for them because it resembles the most, I guess, warrior-like lineup as a starting group that we've seen since the previous championships, right? Even the last championship, right? They
Yeah.
started Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney,
Looney.
right?
Yeah.
um, the pre KD years, it was Steph, Clay, Draymond, HB, and Bogut, right? You have an athletic wing out there. You have Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and you have a traditional big that just does the big man things, rebounds, protects the rim. however way they can, and just helps Draymond save his legs. So when you want to play your trump card, which is the death lineup, quote unquote,
Right.
the more athletic lineup, you can just go to that at the end of the game, and everybody's fresher because they've had the big guy doing all the dirty work for the whole game. So that just
Right.
makes the most sense, I think, going forward. It's just a matter of, is Trace ready to play against those starting bigs that he's going to have to see potentially in the postseason?
I don't know if it's about is Trace ready. I think it's just you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah,
It's
there's no
not
choice.
about are you ready? No, you're gonna have to get ready and stay ready
Hmm.
for the moment because it's going to happen. But what do you see now that because Wiggins will, I'm sure, be back come Tuesday, he will probably be in the starting lineup
Hmm.
alongside Klay and Steph, Draymond, TJD. Now, does that still flow like that? Or with JK also coming back, does he hang out on the bench? Or
Hmm.
what say you with this now?
With Wiggins coming back,
Yeah,
I mean, I think they should start that same lineup. Honestly, bring JK off the bench, and depending on the matchup, depending on the flow of the game, who's playing, how good guys are
right,
playing. I think your default closing lineup should be JK in for Trace with the same four starters. That's your highest upside on both ends lineup, right? You got offense and defense, every position seemingly. So I think that's the go-to for now. If one of those guys isn't playing as well, then you could just plug them out for somebody else. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Um,
all right,
and-
cool. Because Nat had brought up in our last episode is that doesn't feel like Kaminga should lose his starting spot just because of injury,
Mhm,
but she also thinks that Clay should be starting anyway.
mhm.
So it was just one of those like, oh, what do we do here? Because now Kaminga will be coming back, but does he just get reinserted into the starting lineup? Or do we go with what has been cooking for these last, 5, 6 games now that, you know, we've just been on a roll. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we all know JK is gonna play more minutes than Trace, probably way more minutes than Trace. So,
mhm,
um, just like the actual starting lineup thing, I don't think is super important, especially if it works and it's better for the team, right? Like I
right,
said, we already established how it helps Klay Thompson on offense, it helps Draymond on defense, it helps everybody on defense because it puts
right.
everyone in their right position. So it just helps you establish a foundation at every game. I mean, the beginning of every half, and Trace is good too. So it's like
Yeah,
it gives them a different look too. It gives them the lob threat, the guy who can finish inside, block shots, start fast breaks and transition opportunities as well. So it's not necessarily a question of like, is Trace better than JK, but it's just like this
oh no,
fits a little bit more. And obviously we know like Wiggins is more of a perimeter guy than JK, so we probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to start JK at the three just yet until he develops those skills. Or maybe something in the offseason you address. Maybe you bring Trace off the bench next year and you bring in a starting five that can like stretch the floor a little bit or something like that. Then you can explore starting JK at the three because you now have more space for JK to
mhm,
operate. But that's like, we're not talking about that yet. Let's
right.
just
We
focus on.
trying to just be in this, we just try to get some wins.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to get some wins. We're trying to get into a playoff series.
Right,
To
exactly.
get the play in, we just trying to get into the playoffs so these guys can get experience and they got to punch a chance against anybody. Like
Exactly.
honestly, if I'm looking at the West, I'm like, well, these teams are all these teams are good. All these teams
Mhm.
can theoretically beat the Warriors, but I'm not looking at any of these teams and saying like, yeah, this is a guaranteed loss. Like we're just going to get swept. We're going to lose in 6, like whatever. I think they can beat any of these teams. Now, Denver is obviously top dog until they're knocked off, but Minnesota, OKC, LA, Clippers, Mavericks, Suns, I think the Warriors can go and beat any of these teams in a series, honestly.
And we've been in all of these games
Right.
with
Even
these top
with all
teams
the
and
teams,
stuff.
not even like
Yeah. It's
yeah,
like
not even
we've
excluding
been
Denver. Like they should have beaten Denver twice
yeah.
out of the games that they played them.
I
Like,
know. Just
yeah, crazy.
just all of them. It's just like we've been in, I feel like, the most clutch games of the season, and we've been right there every single time. So it's
Mhm.
that's why I'm just like, no, we have a chance really against any of them. So
I've seen it. I seen a stat. I forgot who on Twitter posted it. I think it might have been Warriors Muse or something like that, where they said Steph has hit like 10 go-ahead shots like at the end of games this season, and like 7 of them have been returned by the other team, pretty much like they hit a game winner of their own.
mhm,
Like that's just the tail of this season right there. Like, they
yeah,
you do you kind of get yourself into a position where you can win the game, but you also put yourself in a position where you can lose the game, and then just more times than not they've been on the wrong side of the coin, and just unlucky for a lot of these things. Like,
yeah,
but it is what it is. It still doesn't change the fact that they've been competing and doing well against pretty much every team in the league at some point this season. There's no team that we see that's just dominated them all year and they just can't beat them. So get into the playoffs and see what happens. Like, make something shake. Like, right
yeah.
now, Denver is locked into first.
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
They're locked
I mean,
in.
they're not locked into first. If Minnesota wins tonight, I think Minnesota gets first, but they have the same record. Um. So I mean, I'm gonna say that Denver is probably going to finish first.
Okay.
So
Because I know
if they
that
get
I'm
it,
sure the Thunder are still trying to get that first seed.
yeah, it's still super close. I mean, who does Denver have for the rest of the season? Okay, so they play the Jazz next, and then they play the Timberwolves. So that game probably decides who gets the first
Who
seed.
will? Mm,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So we will see who gets that first seed after that game, and if the Warriors are in that 9 or 10 spot, that would be who they would face in the first round of the playoffs if they made it through the play-in. So that's something to monitor as well. We're
yeah.
kind of hoping we are hoping that it's Timberwolves. I think that would be an easier series for the Warriors than
Yeah.
Denver, but it is what it is.
Easier, just I think more manageable because
Yeah,
once you get into the playoffs, nothing is easy. Um, but
true.
just
I would pick the Warriors to beat.
a favorable matchup taking
Hmm.
on the Wolves opposed to the Nuggets right out the gate. So
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Um. Got anything else?
no, let's just keep winning.
Yeah. Let's just do that. We were going to talk about the Dallas game, but like flush it
I
down
I
the
mean,
toilet.
yeah, flush it down the toilet. Ugh, I thought we had it there. We had the look and
Hmm.
everything. Just didn't fall for us. But without Luca, I really thought we were going to do some damage.
Hmm.
And listen, give it up to the Mavs for battling super hard and PJ having
Fluke.
just what?
Yeah.
Dude,
PJ
okay.
took Steph's powers for that game. It's okay. I mean, Steph was a little gas, so
He was.
his shots were a little flat, and then PJ just decided to drink Mike Jordan's secret stuff and hit every shot. So it is what it is. Um,
But Curry did come down and hit that midi to tie it up,
he
and
did.
so it wasn't like
Yeah, they still had a
and
chance.
that was a tough shot too.
Another one of those games, right? That we just
Another one where
Steph
we
hits
was
the.
like, "Okay,
Hmm.
he just did it. He just got us there," and we had to stop right there. I
Hmm.
just think, okay, on that play where they doubled Kyrie, let's just flush this out really quick. Do we think that it should have been Chris in there with his size, doubling Kyrie with Draymond, opposed to maybe someone else coming off the bench and doing that double who is a lot taller?
Hmm. Yeah,
That
I'm always gonna
then
vote for.
that pass maybe doesn't get to Tim
Mhm.
Hardaway Jr.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm always in favor of sitting Chris Paul for defensive possessions. Like I don't care what his IQ and his experience is. He's 6 foot and slow relative to his position at this point in his career. So just put someone that's longer, rangier, more athletic on the court and just trust that they won't make a mistake, right? Like even if they make a mistake, there's a better chance of them recovering than Chris Paul like actually stopping somebody in these situations. So yeah, I will always say Chris Paul. I think just in general that when they got it to THJ,
Yeah, I know.
Klay, he took like a weird angle. Like he kind of had a false step there, and THJ kind of got a little step on him, but he recovered
Mhm.
and got even with him. It was Draymond, I think, on the backside.
On the
He
back,
should have
yeah.
like he once he saw Trace go for the help
He
side
should
block.
yeah, just let Trace take
Mhm.
care of it. You stay on PJ there.
Yeah. He should have. I mean, he was rotating off of
He was.
Kyrie down to PJ, but he was just like
Mhm.
not fast
He
enough. And he could have intercepted that pass or at least smacked it out of bounds, but he was just a
Yeah.
step slow or off of it or not paying attention. So that's my biggest takeaway from it. Like Draymond just kind of he missed his opportunity to make the play right there. But flush it down the toilet. We are on to the Lakers. Let's just keep winning games, win all the games remaining,
And
and see where
defend
you
at a high level. Yeah.
yeah, keep defending, keep playing defense. Yeah. So that's all we got for you guys. We will see you guys after that Laker game. Remember to follow us on our socials at Golden Spaces Pod. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Listen to wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, 95.7 The Games, YouTube, under their podcast feed. Golden Spaces, like us there. And we appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you. Peace.